Turn to the teacher. Turn to the teacher. Turn to the teacher. Turn to the teacher. Turn to the teacher.
Welcome back. I'm Mike with the Turntable Teachers, and class is officially back in session, and we have a big announcement coming here, and I'm so excited to introduce our brand new guest host for the reboot of our original podcast series. We haven't been doing a lot of our original content that we had started with. We're talking, albums and music, and we've been doing a lot of guest speaker episodes and been with the right mind, but we finally have a co-host, a new co-host who will be with us going forward. He looks familiar. You guys can see the Lakers, obviously, if you remember that episode where I was kind of getting into him about the Lakers. But Phoenix Rios is our official co-host to the Turntable Teachers.
What's up, baby?
Let's go. What's up, brother?
What's up, baby? What's going on? That's awesome. I didn't even realize you're going to do all that. Oh, my Alexa just went off. Alexa, stop listening.
Does Alexa want to get in on the conversation?
Yeah, definitely. That's like, it's a 2-in-1 kind of thing. I come with Alexa. I'm leveling this thing up, man. I'm automating it with the voice. Let's go. I'm excited for this.
Me too, man. So again, I'm really excited that we have you as a part of the team and as a co-host for the show. And I just thought like we had such a good conversation the first time, and you and I have been kind of in the behind the scenes working on this reboot. And much better than me talking to myself, I think, with some of these episodes. So I'm really excited to have you, man, and to have these conversations. I think already, and just what we have to talk about today. I think you've brought me into some new worlds that I'm not even I wasn't even aware of until this past weekend. So we'll get into that.
We're gonna talk about that. We're gonna get into that. I'm
that.
glad to be here, man. I loved your other stuff. I loved the conversation we had in the guest speaker episode, and this is as good as it could have worked out for me, because I came into it hoping maybe they'll get me on again. Maybe we could do something in the future. But I'm glad that we vibed in. I'm up for this. This is sick.
Yep. No, it's gonna be a good thing, man. I'm really excited for it as well, and I think you add a lot of value, and our listeners, I think you will see the same. So if you didn't check out the first guest speaker episode we had with Phoenix Rios, he's an artist as well. He hip hop artist, just had a new album drop, or EP, I should say, Nocturnal, which is very good, and I think you guys will enjoy it if you haven't checked that out.
Thanks, man.
No, of course, yeah, no problem. And so but on this episode and going forward with Phoenix, we're gonna be talking more about popular music, pop culture, music related topics, album reviews, some of the similar things we had been doing. If you've been a fan of ours for a long time, our first episodes were more about that before we started to dive into more guest speaker episodes. But again, like I said, we're here. We got a lot to talk about today. It's been a freaking crazy week, bro. There's
been a lot of ups and downs, that's for sure.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
Yeah, I would agree. And of course, the topic on everybody's mind. The day we're recording this, there's not a official president that has been decided yet, not to get political with it, but hopefully by the time that this episode comes out on Sunday, we'll have some kind of a sense of where we're going. But I kind of want to talk about Kanye, obviously. We're in regards to the presidency, because this is
50,000.
Isn't that crazy?
50,000.
50,000 people.
50,000, dude. That is, I don't know. I can't tell if it's a flop, because it obviously wasn't what a Kanye campaign could be, essentially. But I'm also it was still too much, a little too much.
I know. Well, he's gonna run in 2024 as well. I don't know if you saw that as well.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. What is he gonna do when he that's 50,000 write-ins.
I know.
50,000 people on their own, with their own initiative, row in somebody, when we can't get people to just fill in a bubble for someone else.
I know. So and it was pretty crazy that I also thought this too. he was, believe it or not, when he voted, he claimed he voted for himself, which obviously, I mean, I would too if I was him. But he said that he's
and we can believe that from Kanye for sure.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Oh yeah. I mean, talk about ego. Again, he's a musical genius, but I mean, talk about somebody
Musical genius.
a bit egotistical. But he told like his his social media audience that this was the first time he's ever voted, which I find very troublesome to me. Like, how are you running for president if you've never voted before? Like,
why do you feel comfortable saying that out loud like that?
I know. I know. Doesn't that kind of seem hypocritical? I think so, personally.
Well, I think it's obviously hypocritical, but I think it goes to show, like, one, how inspired he is by just like Donald Trump as a celebrity figure,
right?
And two, like, it's a reflection somewhat of what, like, a lot of other people think as well. Like, political leaders don't need to be activists or have any kind of career in social justice or activism. Like, they just need to be popular, which is, that's a little sad, but it's just, I think at the end of the day, though, a lot of that stuff honestly doesn't last and doesn't always, usually doesn't make it through in the long haul. You know what I mean?
Yeah. In our pre-record, when we were like planning this episode, I think that you had kind of brought up an interesting question, and I think it bodes asking now. I think, do you think that like more celebrities are going to start running for president, and like is that going to be a problem? You think like down the line? Because I personally answering my own question, I kind of see what you're saying about like this almost becoming a popularity contest in its own right, and I'm a little bit worried about other like celebrities or hip hop artists or really anybody, right, that's not hasn't had a life in politics. And then we can go down that rabbit hole about politicians and all that stuff. I'm not really here to talk about all that whole thing, but I'm more here to like, do you think we'll start to see more celebrities and like musical artists like run for president, like or office?
I hope not, dude. I hope not personally. Too. Like, I think the most interesting part of this is just celebrities, Donald Trump being the epitome of that, but just celebrities having the audacity, to leverage their brand and leverage their popularity in order to get people to go to voting booths, which just feels like an abuse of your platform. It feels like an abuse of your following, in my opinion, because in my eyes, what I also think is going to be the determining factor, no matter what, even through this term with Donald Trump, and who knows, maybe in the next 2 days, like, we're going to have another term of Donald Trump. Like, you never know for sure at this point. It's looking real close. But I think at the end of the day, people who do the work and people who actually care about this passionately they deserve these jobs and usually end up getting the jobs. Whether it's like they catch us, somebody comes around, or some organization comes around and pulls us out of rock bottom, or just the perseverance of people who have done this for a long time, not willing to let go, hand it over to people who made a dope hip hop album. Like, I think it will balance itself out, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
But I think it's unfair, but it looks like there's a trend developing, essentially, of these celebrities feeling like this is an arena they can step in, which I think is also just disrespectful to people who have been doing it. That's essentially what I'm trying to say, man. Like, yeah.
and I think that there's I don't want to, I'm not sitting here, I'm not on like the side of like the shut up and dribble people, right? Like, that's not
right,
because I think that there's a vast difference in that. Like, you can be a social or even political activist as a celebrity, like, or as a musical artist or whoever, right? If again, like you said, like, you're passionate about that work, do that work. But I feel like Kanye hasn't really done that work to even be that. I mean, Donald Trump didn't either, right? So that's right. And that's inherently the issue. It's like, are we just going to hand over these platforms to these people that want to kind of take it and run with it? I don't know. It's strange to me. Like, I agree. Like, it seems like a mix of business and politics, and I don't know if I like that very much. And I'm baffled, to be honest with you. Like, this is a interesting statistic that I want to share with you. Over 1,200 votes for Kanye West in Vermont. 1,200 people in Vermont picked Kanye West.
Crazy.
Vermont. That is mind-blowing to me. I did not even think that he would get this. Like you said, the 60,000 votes is baffling to me that he got that many.
It's so, there's like, I don't know, it's like, I'm gonna try and use a big word out there. It's like paradoxical. It's like there's a dichotomy there. It's because at one point I think oh, it's Kanye West, of course, and no one's gonna logically, and no one's gonna elect this person to be a world leader, or he's not gonna be a serious threat, even if he's gonna get 100 or 500 or 1,000 people to do it. But then at the same time, whether, I don't know if this is just the way I look at it after Donald Trump, but it's also like a given that someone who's an artist, whether it's someone who's a celebrity, just in American culture, people with celebrity have a lot of influence and are more relatable.
That is true.
To people than politicians, because that's what they do. Like they've been staying out of politics for so long, trying to not be too polarizing. But at the end of the day, like, of course, it's a given. Like, yeah, people are gonna fuck it. Sorry, I don't know if we're cursing here.
No, you're good. You're totally fine.
Yeah,
totally
people are gonna fucking vote for Kanye West. This is Kanye. He has enough pool of people who love him already that I'm not surprised there's, we have to count for teenagers who just don't.
True.
This is their first time voting, who don't care. Older people who are also very jaded just by what they've been seeing, so they don't care. And tons of people who idolize this person to such a degree where, like, just to be a part in the moment of history, they'll write down Kanye West. Especially, in our Instagram age, like, or in any age, there'd be a celebrity like him is gonna get a good amount of votes. That's where I'm saying it's like a weird, I don't know whether to be surprised by the 50,000 or disappointed, or like I can't tell.
There's a little bit of both for me.
Not disappointed. I'm disappointed in the, not that I think he should get more, just to clarify that.
Oh, yeah. No,
disappointed in the sense that I'm disappointed so many people would vote for him.
Yes. I knew what you meant.
Seen it coming.
Yeah, I knew what you meant. Hopefully people listening at home or wherever you're listening understood what you were saying. But no, I completely agree. I think that there's I don't know, there's a sense of me that is a little bit concerned seeing that large of amount of a number that he got for votes. So I don't know. It does worry me a little bit for the future. Like I said, are these celebrities going to think that this is a avenue that they can just jump into because they're already popular and they know that they can at least get 50 to 60,000 votes without even really doing any campaigning or having any, only that.
He did this on like the last second homework type.
Yeah, literally. Yeah, he came in at the 11th hour and was like, "Hold on, I'm gonna run too." And we were all just kind of like, I mean, I will say this though.
Did you ever get one of his ads? Sorry, did you ever get one of his ads? Did you ever see one of his ads?
I never did. No, why?
And this is why it was. Oh, that's so funny, because I felt a type of way about being targeted by these Kanye Instagram ads. He put out real ads, and I only know this not because I researched it, because I received it on my newsfeed and on my timeline and Instagram. I maybe it was on his page, but I really want to say it was it was a paid ad, a sponsored ad that popped up, and it was Kanye West, and it was this little graphic video that showed someone how to do a write-in on the ballot, and showed like write-in Kanye West, and then it was like it looked almost like similar to that Nike commercial he had with Kobe, just in terms of like the camera and effects. Like he was like looking out into the sky. Like I don't know if you want to Google this or what, dude, but like he's literally, it's like shot very dramatically. He's looking out into the sky, like saying stuff about freedom, rights, liberation, and and he's like, they show how to write in the ballot, and it cuts away, and he's like, this message is approved by Kanye West. And it's just like, whoa. And I thought it was so funny, though. Like, this goes to show he's a billionaire, right?
Oh,
He
yeah.
has all these
Multi-billion.
resources. All these things are expendable. Like, he can, if he did this with any kind of foresight, he would have done a lot better than he did now.
Exactly.
And just like, look how good he did by irrationally jumping into this.
And that's what scares me, right? And like,
exactly.
He's talked about running in the past, though. This isn't like one of those things, but it was always, it always just kind of seemed like, I don't know, like he just says.
And so did Trump.
True. Trump has been talking about this for like 20 plus years. Like,
he's
I think
taken the same exact rap. You know?
Yeah. So that is my fear, where it's like, will people take him more seriously in 24 if he actually takes the campaigning seriously? That is my fear with it.
Right.
And I just, like you said, I mean, to kind of, in closing, I think for me, like one of the last things I kind of have to say about this whole thing is just like, I want to leave those jobs up to, like you said, the people. I mean, I feel this way too. The people that have dedicated their lives for it. And it's not to say that Kanye West can't be a part of that conversation, or that he should just shut up and make music or anything like that. Like, I'm not saying that at all. Like, dude, like, I appreciate if, you know, like, I think LeBron James gets a ton of like backlash for that, and I don't understand why. I think LeBron James speaking about bigger issues that mean a lot to him are actually a good thing, and I feel like that it'll maybe force other celebrities and athletes to actually get out there and maybe use their money wisely and help some of these causes. Yes, and they should, like just the philanthropy of it. And you know, I'm not telling anybody on how to, you know, use their money, but I think Kanye West could have used the money that he probably paid for that ad to maybe go put it towards a different cause that would have been made more of an impact. I don't know. That's just my opinion on that.
Of course,
so-
like, yeah, that's a great opinion, Mike. It's not.
Oh,
that's
thank you.
not super wild. It's not a hot take. This is like, he could have done this, and I think if he had a reputation of doing this, you know, if Jay-Z ran for president, I would still say, wow, the balls on that guy.
Yeah.
But I would think about it a lot more with Jay-Z, right? Because he has, and maybe that's still I'm falling victim to this celebrity culture, but with someone like a Jay, you know what I mean, or KRS, or even Kendrick Cole, like, come on, like, just tons of more figures, even in music, who have a reputation to be more thoughtful and more proactive socially. There are tons of other people who have done that more than Kanye West as of late, and have set more of a precedent in their career to stand for certain things like that, like Mos Def, right? Like, I was seeing something on Instagram where someone had said on Instagram, you know, criticizing Kanye, being like, celebrities are not politicians. Celebrities are not politicians. And of course, you have people in the comments who are like, well, what good are politicians? You know what I mean? So what there are tons of people who look at it on that end, like, you know, if someone, and I'm not super, I try to balance myself with being like sensible, but also like sensitive to certain things, whether it's like with art, you know what I mean? I'm here with the woo, like, he made a good album, maybe he's very complex as a person, but there has to be some work that backs that up. And don't get me wrong, you know, like College Dropout, Late Registration, those two albums especially have just a lot of social commentary.
Right.
Graduation a little bit less so, but even in his My Beautiful Dark Twisted, there's a lot of things that just goes to show that he's aware. He's made a lot of art that is represented himself well, and also I think represented what it's like to be a black man in America and be a black man in his position, which is obviously social. That's good. That's all good stuff. But is this a guy who we really trust, you know, behind holding the reins of this whole thing? But sorry, to bring it back to the Instagram comments, someone commented on her post and was like, well, what about the MCs like Talib Kweli? Or they said, what about the rappers like Talib Kweli, Mos Def, KRS-One, and a slew of other old school rappers, obviously. And he put Kendrick and Cole in there. And then she replied, those are not rappers or just celebrities. Those are MCs. You know, making a distinction, of course. There's a caveat, everyone, because we do realize that artists can have a profound effect on us and can help mobilize people and can help enlighten people. So we can't say they have no ability or they have no positive influence even on other people, because we've seen that they definitely have the capacity to do so. You know, art just has the capacity to do that.
Oh yeah.
But it's people who take it seriously that way or not. You know what I mean? I think that's where hip hop is also supposed to be. You're supposed to be a rapper and an MC, a performer, and just a performer and a teacher. You know,
True.
You're supposed to be up there doing both, because that's in the roots of hip hop too, and I think that's in the roots of music and art in general. You know, sorry that was so long-winded.
No.
But it's like these things, like you're saying, they can coexist.
But to what extent, right? Like, to what extent should they coexist?
Exactly.
You know
to
what
what
I mean?
extent?
Yeah.
And to what people are we gonna grant that? You know what I mean?
True.
So like, and
true.
what standards are we gonna hold them? Can we really do it just off the basis of music and likability? No.
No, you can't. No.
Not in my opinion.
Well, no, definitely. And again, not a hot take, Phoenix. You know what I mean? I agree. But like, there's again, like you said, Mos Def, Talib Kweli, KRS-One. These are guys that have actually done some things outside of music and hip hop, and that have actually like created some change. Even another guy like Akon, right? Like, I feel like Akon has done a lot. I can't remember what country it is, but didn't he give like, or help like an entire country with like clean water or like electricity or something like that? I don't even know what it was. I can't remember quite. It was like some third world country. But
I think he's done that multiple times to multiple countries in Africa.
So that's huge.
He's just been like a huge ambassador and advocate for all of Africa to kind of rebuild itself as a continent.
See, that's great.
He's gone to like multiple countries doing like starting up foundations and providing water to people, providing electricity, providing Wi-Fi, providing hip-hop studios or like music studios.
Yeah. No, I agree. Like, that in essence, that is great. Like, that is actual change. And like Akon taking, he hasn't made any music in freaking a decade, right? He's been doing this. Like, this is what he's using his money and like his philanthropy and his his platform and just like the person he became from music. Like, this was like, I think it sucks because I feel like with someone like Akon, people will just remember him. Maybe I could be naive about this, but I feel like a lot of people will remember him for the music rather than some of this other stuff that's actually important in making change. And not that he didn't like have an impact on the music industry and things like that, but like, I don't know, man.
It's funny. Akon's funny. Akon's actually like, I think, a very unique situation. Personally, I saw him do that Tekashi thing. I don't know if you saw him do that Tekashi collab video.
I did
Tekashi
see that.
6ix9ine when he was going on a press tour talking to anybody and everybody that he could, and most people were rejecting him. And he popped up on Instagram with Akon, remixing Akon's Locked Up. And it hasn't come out. I don't think it's come out as a track, but a lot of people were just obviously upset that Akon would put himself in this Instagram content because he knew it was going out. He was clearly looking at the camera like they were a part of this. They thought it through. But like, even people, I guess like Tory Lanez were commenting like they were upset, suggesting because like people have tried to sample Locked Up and remix Locked Up, and they couldn't get their hands on it. But he does it with Tekashi. So, and that's not to outweigh all the other positive things. I was actually going to tell you a small thing I learned from a Akon interview I watched on Breakfast Club. I want to say it's Breakfast Club, but he's talking about times where he's literally mediating conflicts between warring countries in Africa, setting up deals with all these presidents or ministers of these places, and at some point, even these people are like, this is from the interview, so who knows? This is me. You can take it with a grain of salt. I'm literally just regurgitating what Akon said in his interview, but he's like doing his best. He has so much influence over there that he can, and has so much willingness to apply all his resources to try and mediate conflict, genuinely trying to unify countries that are having problems, I guess. And he was saying that it was working to a degree where people were, sending him out saying, yeah, you have our blessing. If you can get this to happen, we'll totally we'll totally come to the table, open-minded. And like they were surprised that he was actually able to get so many countries to essentially endorse him.
Right.
So he was like having conversations with real leaders, like national leaders over there. So it's crazy. I don't know. What will he be remembered for? Probably the pop songs. Probably just the pop songs. But I think he's I think things like this are going to be on the books for people who care to look a little bit deeper.
Yeah.
And this will definitely add to his legacy because, it should.
Agree. Yeah, exactly. And I think that's a it's again, he's making positive change versus Kanye West just kind of, I don't know. To me, it just seems like
he's saying F it. He's saying, bro, I don't care. This is like a man in his going through a midlife kind of crisis, like trying to find, his next new thing. And when you're at Kanye's scale in terms of life, when you're at Kanye's level, you don't just sign up for fucking Block Watch. You go and sign up to fucking run to be president because you think you got a shot. Like
exactly. I know. I don't want to be the guy that says like stick to music because that's the wrong message. Like get yourself involved. But yeah, do something like what Akon's doing. I think if he had a track record like that, like if Akon came back and was like, I want to run for president, I'd be like, okay, at least he has some experience in foreign affairs and like he knows how to like rebuild things. Like I would at least feel better about that. I don't know if I would still vote for him. It would depend upon who he was running against. But like, you know what I mean?
Here's what I think it gets tough. It's because I think a lot of people are gonna say, like, Trump, and I'll say this too because I'm the type of guy to say this. Trump got to freaking do it. He was allowed to do it as a white guy. That's that white privilege where clearly there are tons of white. I'm sorry, I don't mean to get I don't mean to get crazy about it, but that's that white privilege as a white guy. He's saying, yeah, I can do this, and there are enough white people who, what it seems like on the basis of very surface level things, like him maybe being also white, like they give him a large benefit of the doubt,
right, and
will believe in him, place their faith in him, and if it can get him elected, then like you're saying, or just like anybody should be pondering now is like, who are we to tell anybody they can't freaking run for office if at some point someone did it who was wildly underqualified and made it, you know what I mean? There's no way for us to cover up this L, and he's offering a hell of a fight right now for the second term. So like, there's clearly who am I to also like, you know what I mean? I'm not gonna tell a black dude, I'm not gonna tell a brother just like to not run if he has that much conviction behind it. But I am gonna, for myself individually, and what I feel like people in the world should do, is I'm going to evaluate and assess my leaders thoroughly, and I'm going to look at your experience, I'm going to look at your things, and I'm also going to value the way you conduct yourself, and like yo, I love Ye just as much as anybody else, and you know what I mean? I also want to see all people, all positions of power being filled up by more people of color.
Agreed.
I want to see people being represented, and I also want all people of color to aim high. You know what I mean? But
yes.
I think Kanye, with a little bit more self-awareness, would be able to come to the conclusion that he's not the guy. I would love what if he did something cool? This is just me going on another thing. Like, what if he did something cool, went to freaking Chicago, went to all the social justice programs that Chance the Rapper started up and founded, because he's actually tapped into these young people. Say, yo, who's your top guy here at Social Experiment that's born and bred Chicago? Yeah? Has he ever thought about running for office around here? Endorse that guy. Mobilize that kid who's been doing the work. And then it's like, all right, yo, you want to step up to Congress? You want to step up to senator or governor or something? Let me keep funding you. Let me endorse you. And then I'll go, do the things that I do, which we have other things that we know he is passionate about. Music, fashion, and I was gonna say, like, I guess like imperialism. I don't know, like he's just like, I don't know if that makes sense, but he's trying to build his empire. He's also just very obsessed with expanding his brain on his brand on a consumer level and an artistic level. But like, give it to someone who's been there. Yeah. Again, I don't know if I use that word at all in the right context. I'm just throwing them out there to sound smart, Mike. It's turntable teachers. I gotta give the SAT words.
Yeah, throw them all out here. This is the platform for it. No, I think, like you said, I think it's a good place to kind of wrap up. I think, Kanye should, endorse somebody like that. I think that's a great idea, and I think that is something but I don't think he has the, the wherewithal and the he can't separate the ego from actually, doing something like that. So I think that in essence is kind of the problem with it. But hey, man, I mean, like you said, we'll see where it goes in 24. Obviously, we'll sit back and see what happens with this election first. But I think that is something to maybe consider. As time passes, is what are we going to just allow these celebrities to continuously put themselves in a position to be president? I just don't know if it's a feasible thing. And I think the rest of the countries, the rest of the world is kind of looking at us like, what are you guys doing? And I agree. What are we doing, dude? You know what I mean?
What are we doing?
What are we doing? So,
and I think at the end, it's feasible. It's been proved that it's feasible.
Exactly. That's the whole scary part about it.
Yeah.
That's what is scary about it. You know what I mean? I don't know. But speaking of some other, we'll get into some music right now. I definitely want to talk some music.
Keep it political and be as polarizing as we can.
Oh yeah. Let's totally dive into who we voted
for. Red
versus
blue. Who you vote for? Yeah.
Yeah, totally. That's totally something we should jump into.
I'm definitely here. I want to talk about these next two albums because you seemed like you had a lot to tell me.
Well, I think you did
this,
too,
and I'm glad you put them on my radar.
Good.
Honestly.
I'm glad I did too.
It gave me some real good things to get into and really digest. And yes, I got some words for you for sure.
All right. So I think we had a lot of things we agreed on in the last segment. I think we're gonna actually have some very polarizing opinions in this segment. Just in our conversation, our brief conversation yesterday. So we're gonna dive in. We're gonna do some album reviews for you guys. We're gonna do a Joyner Lucas and Millyz, two of the bigger names to come out of Massachusetts in the last 5 or so years.
Massachusetts stand up, baby.
Let's go. Exactly. Massachusetts stand up. Right. Exactly. And we're a Massachusetts-based podcast, so of course we want to talk about the local guys. And Joyner and Millyz. So Joyner Lucas is from Worcester, out that a little bit more out Western Mass, and then
Worcester.
Worcester sauce. Have you ever seen that video, by the way, where people not from Massachusetts try to pronounce Massachusetts?
No.
Oh my! I'll send you it later.
I've definitely seen things like that.
Oh, it's hilarious.
I've definitely seen compilation videos.
Worcester.
I can't even do it, and I'm from Massachusetts. We have some weird names.
One was Cochituate. That one's insane.
Sounds like you just cursed.
Exactly, right? Yeah, you could have. There's 2 words out of that you probably could have. If you mispronounce them, they'd be curse words. But there's Haverhill's another one. There's just so many. Haverhill is how that's spelled. There's so many people.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But either way, Joyner Lucas from Worcester. Millyz is originally from Cambridge. They're 2 doing their thing. They got massive followings now, and just 2 dropped. I think 2 of the bigger projects of their careers. We'll discuss on whether or not we liked the albums or what we take away from them, and maybe some of the things we liked that they did. I guess we'll start with Joyner. I think that's a good place to start.
Right.
What's your history with Joyner Lucas before this coming into this project?
That's a great place to start, because I don't want anything what I'm about to say after this to sound like I don't know what the hell I'm talking about.
Ooh, okay.
All right, this boy is nice. Okay, this dude is nice. He's obviously Joyner is. I think it's not offensive to say, right? Joyner Lucas is definitely more established than Millyz, but probably been the longest, most established artist from Massachusetts, at least that I've been aware of.
Cousin Stiz, maybe.
Exactly. Of course. But in terms of Joyner Lucas is making songs with Eminem constantly. So, and I don't know what other Massachusetts artist is doing that stuff. But I have been aware of Joyner because he's been in the game for a couple years now. He's been in the game. I'm 22, about to turn 23 soon, so I'm young. But I was aware of him definitely in high school, early high school, and a lot of it was the things that he would body, right, are those music video storytelling combo packages, where the visuals were on point, the lyricism throughout the song was on point, and the most astounding thing every time was how he made a story that was so vivid, whether it was like a stream of consciousness perspective or a third person perspective or whether it was introspective. It was he could do it so well and would be so descriptive. And then he also had a dope run of just remixing popular beats. I feel like after I got out of high school, like 3 or 4 years ago, he was on a tear, just remixing Gucci Gang, DNA, a whole bunch of things that were hard. And even then, he had dropped a project. There's the phone number project. I remember that getting some plays and people really talking about that a lot. And I had listened to it, and it was aight. It was aight, man. I'm only saying this, and I feel nervous to even be on a Massachusetts-based podcast because I'm not here for the bashing of MA-based artists at all. You know what I mean? But I'm also gonna be truthful about what I just like musically, I guess.
Yeah.
And I wasn't a huge fan of the whole album because I think there's a little bit, and I think this has kind of been the trend for him for most of his career, his at least mainstream career, is that I'm not too compelled by who he is as a person. And when he talks about himself or when it comes to him offering me some substance about, I don't know, that something that's just removed from more of this storytelling, like vignette style, you know what I mean? Like, because a lot of these things where it's like, they were delivered with these singles with the video combo. It's meant to have the visuals, and it stands alone. It's not related to the track before his project. It's not related much to the next track on his project. And I think he's still figuring that out, honestly. So that's kind of where I am with him, and how I've looked at him so far, though, is like, this guy's fucking older than me. I'm a chump. I'm a kid. But this guy is nice. He's been around for a second. I still think his career has a long ways to go, which I'm saying is there's a lot more maybe untapped potential. But and his lyricism is out of here. You know what I mean? Off the charts. Yeah. I don't know how else you want to say that. Like he's nice. Like, but obviously that's not the full rapper package. Just being able to rap your ass off, even though the real backpack heads and the real purists would kill someone for that, but like being able to create a catchy song, being able to create a certain image that's relatable, that's a part of just being a rapper, a performer. And I feel like he hasn't been able to do much of that. And I'll end it right here because I want to hear more of what your take is on Joyner. Is that him versus Mr. Tory Lanez, who I'm still unsure about of whether or not he's canceled? For me, I'm saying he's canceled until proven innocent because, just the kind of the thing he did, the nature of what we're talking about. But just removed from that, the Tory Lanez versus Joyner Lucas little beef they had about 2 years ago. Tory Lanez, being someone who doesn't rap exclusively, really showed out. I thought had a great showing, and in my opinion, killed Joyner in that. You know what I mean? And Joyner tried to hop into his bag of like, I'll create the narrative story thing about Tory, right? But it was not applicable, does not resonate in that same way. And that may be a testimony of how much he's still trying to learn how to do that, just in terms of him as an artist. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
yeah, a lot of what you said makes some sense to me, and I see what you're saying. Just some of it. It does make some sense to me. My history with Joyner is similar. I came onto him. The first song I ever heard of his was "Happy Birthday," and like that song as well, I think paints
an amazing song.
The visuals, all that. I think that kind of piggybacks off of the first part of what you said, where he does such a good job of painting that story, that picture, telling it. That song, like with the twist in the end in the third verse, like anyone that hasn't heard that song, I highly encourage that one. That's a song that'll kind of leave you with like chills in your bones. Like in your spine.
Anyone who hasn't spent at least 2 hours, honestly, like just laid back binging Joyner Lucas videos, they're missing out on a very good part of hip hop.
Yeah.
You have to give them that because it's mastercraft kind of storytelling.
Absolutely, like that song was great. I agree with you saying like he made it huge when he was jumping on the Eminem's albums and doing some of those guest verses, and this is the second album he's dropped actually this year, and I think that while there are actually songs on the first project that dropped earlier this year that I like, ADHD, songs that I liked better than the ones I liked here. You said you liked ADHD? Did I hear that right? Individual songs, yes. Certain individual songs.
Oh, because the album was named ADHD.
Yes. So
you were talking about
I'm talking about the
title
album.
track ADHD with Logic. Do you like that one?
ISIS, he was on ISIS, Logic.
ISIS.
That song, not like great on like replayability. I didn't think it was bad. I just wasn't. Logic.
Okay, just wondering. Just had to. One.
Yeah.
I could have done without.
Like they went off. Like I mean, like they both, the flow wise, they both
rapped. They
both can rap their asses
Logic's
off.
verse was better, but I don't know if definitely. You running that back, Mike? I don't mean to interrupt you, buddy.
No.
Running that back?
Not as much. No, I don't go back to that song. I mean, when I go back to that album, that's not the song I go back to. I really like the song "Will" a ton. I thought that song had a ton of like fun lyricism. I think if you're a fan of like Will Smith's filmography and his movies, I think that song kind of makes a ton of sense and like is nostalgic in a lot of ways. And so I love the video that he did too. I think he can even look a little bit like he can pull off the Will Smith look. He looks a little bit like him in some ways. And the way in which he was, I thought that was super dope. So that song was good. There was a couple of songs, like the song called I think "The War" with Young Thug I really liked on that album. There were individual tracks I liked off ADHD. I thought this Evolution album, top to bottom, was a little bit more consistent. The problem I have with Joyner Lucas's albums, and again, just to go back from like we were saying,
definitely. That's what I'm trying to say.
Happy Birthday, I'm Not Racist, right? That was that video,
that was huge.
That blew up. Yeah, exactly. But
and honestly, not even like I'm sure you've seen some of the other ones. Like maybe not even his best one, because I'm Not Racist is great. But it's like maybe not even his. Like he has so many of those video song combos that are like that. You like what? This was made 7 years ago. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
he was definitely ahead of himself and ahead of I think at the time with a lot of that. He did such a good job with those. I think that's his bread and butter. I would agree with you there. My biggest problem with some of these, and it is a little bit of the relatability factor, but the skits kill me, dude. I can't do the skits.
I know, dude.
They're so cringy. Who is this teacher? I need to know.
They're so cringy.
I need to know.
So cringy.
They're so cringy, dude. It was bad. It was bad enough on ADHD, and that was my one of my bigger criticisms of that album. Also, the fact that like over half the album was already singles that we had heard. We literally was only like 6 new songs. But either way, the skits on this album are far worse. It's such bad acting is the problem. Like
Alexa, stop. Sorry, Alexa came on.
She just wants she wants to chime in.
I need to put her on mute. But yeah, no, the voice acting was bad, bare minimum.
Bad.
Definitely like that's something that like I thought a lot of his videos honestly could have used better film actors or on-screen actors, but his YouTube videos and him kind of just being what seems like, you know, smaller, independent kind of underground feel is like you kind of give it that leeway because the film in its entirety and all of the song matching it is so cohesive that when you have some bad actors or actresses, you don't hold them against that. But you listened to these skits and didn't have a problem with the way she was talking, and you let this go. Like, this is what I'm saying. Like, you know, this is why I was interested to just hear you, I guess, defend this project, because with the skits, with the tracks that we've already heard here, and the fact that it's 14 tracks, I think, or 12 tracks with like 45 minutes, like just under 45 minutes. Like, this is not a lot here, and I feel like it feels like feels like he's just putting out a project to stay hot. This is like one of those like
Striking
it out,
while the
keep the
iron's hot.
temperature, keep the temperature where it's at.
Yeah, I agree. I will say this. I think I definitely liked this album much better than you. There were definitely some songs on here that I definitely enjoyed. Like on a song, for example, like on this way with the game. I liked the production actually a ton. I thought it was soulful. I thought the piano was gorgeous. To be honest with you, it is actually interesting with this comes up again on Millyz's album, and I want people to maybe listen to this back and forth, or maybe I'll even like edit it in somewhere to kind of see the juxtaposition of this, but. It sounds like a really raw version of Elevator's "Me and You" by Outkast with the clinking hi-hat in the back. It's not exact, but it's very like I think maybe he sampled it, maybe he didn't, or maybe just took some influence from it, or maybe I'm just listening and reading too much into it. But I listened to them back and forth, and I kind of could hear like some of the BPM being very similar. But I thought even so, like. This is just a weird, like, nerdy thing I wanted to point out. Not that that's a good or not that it's a good or a bad thing. I'm just pointing it out. But I thought this song was a major highlight. I really did. I thought the game did a really nice job. I thought his verse was awesome. I like what the game was talking about a lot with like seeing his old teacher in Trader Joe's, saying that the teacher that said he would never amount to anything.
The game washed Joyner.
That verse was crazy.
The game washed Joyner there.
Yeah, like that.
Like and that's where it was like I'm listening to this and I wanted to like Joyner Lucas and I still support him and I still would I would always still hype up. I'm just glad he's from Massachusetts doing his thing, and I would definitely put someone else onto him if they're really into lyricism, lyrical miracle whip type things. But like the game came on and I remember listening to that track. And it was like early in the thing, but I was just like, I don't know anything about Joyner. That was like one of the first things like that came up to me is like every time I go onto a project, no matter how familiar of a name he is, I still feel like I don't know crap about him. Or at least he hasn't said it in a way that's made it stick, and he hasn't created an image that like makes what is unique about him distinct. But the game came on. Just crazy cadence, that real, obviously the games with that street shit, but like that the delivery was on point, and in the first 8 to 12 bars, like I thought it was just an example of like, wow, the game is painting this picture about the kind of person who he is, like, you know what I mean? Not in just like these vague ways, but it's like recounting and telling stories about just remembering being broke, you know what I mean? Remembering days, giving real vivid specific bars about stuff that he's endured in his life. And then when he comes with his teacher, it's like, even if all this isn't necessarily real, right? Because rappers, if you can just paint the right compelling thing, then it goes. But it's that kind of substance, I guess, that like other rappers that I think are above are on the tier on top of Joyner. That's what makes them interesting, even if they can't rap as well as Joyner technically, what I mean? But like the game came on there with swag, came on there with style, and that I thought that verse was I'm glad you brought that up, because I was like, this game verse was crazy. That verse was crazy. And then he ended on that Kaepernick line, which I thought was just such a good way to put it. That was so crazy. God, black as the pick and Kaepernick's
yeah.
Oh my goodness.
I was like, and then he just ended it and it stopped and the song stopped, and I was like, damn, dude.
And that's why I was like, that's why I'm like, Joyner might as well have just tapped out. Like, you're not saying anything after that.
Yeah. No, with the whole album as a whole, like I think he was trying to frame it as like we're trying to evolve from like this, like the notion of he was trying to basically like portray like the black experience in America, and like how we kind of put like the country as a whole, like it kind of just puts young black boys and girls at such a disadvantage early on. I think that was maybe the part of like the reason why he was doing the skits and things like that, and kind of framing it that way. And I think with the last album too, ADHD, he was trying. I see what you're saying, where like he doesn't enough of him in these bars. I think he was trying to almost use the skits as a way to be like, oh, I had like, this is like what I was dealing with, like with my ADHD when I was young. But he was using the skits to portray it instead of like the actual lyricism in the songs. So, and I do think he had some interesting lines and some bars. I will disagree with you on that, where I feel like some of his lyricism, I thought was more focused on this project than I had heard in the past. Like, especially on this, like the opening track Evolution, I like how he said, like, I'm starting to understand like the shit that Pac was talking about, where like so at least this album had somewhat of a framing to it where like that made some sense. He did go off on some
definitely.
of these. He went off on some of these detours, like, you know,
I think it had an obvious I think it had like an obvious framework.
Yes,
you know
it
what
did.
I mean, it's to me it's to the degree of like how much he dived into each part.
Right,
You know,
which
what I
is
mean?
the problem.
You can make the checklist and like I got this song that talks about this. I technically brought up all these different kinds of subject matters. But like, did you put them in a bar? Did you put them in a verse? Did you have a whole song that drilled beneath whatever theme that you were talking about, like on a deep level?
Yeah.
Like, I guess I don't know how else to articulate it.
No, I
about,
see what you're
like,
saying.
That's what's missing for me
Yeah.
with Joyner Lucas's music, and I wish that like. I think he is also in a spot where he's trying to make his image. He's trying to establish his image as like a rich hip hop artist, even though necessarily he might not be a rich hip hop artist, right? But you gotta have the drip. You gotta have the look to at least say you're getting money now, right? Even if you're not getting money. But like, this is where like rappers like a Cole, right? Someone who has a very different cadence, but lyrically is in that same caliber, and I'll put Joyner Lucas up there in the caliber of someone like a Cole, whether artistically I would like him or not, that's where I think he doesn't stand a chance. But like Cole, for a lot of his first couple projects, up until Forest Hills Drive, like even after he's signed with Jay, after he's got Kanye, he drops on the same day as Kanye, still sells a good amount of albums, you know what I mean? Has his even in his platinum album, he's rapping with this hunger that's like, I'm still not where I want to be and everyone's disrespecting me, and that shows us kind of awareness where it's like, yeah, I'm at this place and like I'm still dealing with rich people things, but he's you know, being real, like I'm not dealing with the kind of rich people problems I want to deal with just yet. Where like when I'm listening to Joyner talk about some of the certain things or about stresses and anxieties, I get it. He's at a point right now, so he's famous, so he's dealing. You want to describe things that you're witnessing actually, but I think it's clear that he wants to be at a higher platform, ascend to a different level. Rap with that conviction. You know what I mean? Like, rap about how it's not working. Like, show me, like, rap about how, like, address the fact that people, you know what I mean? Like hear the criticism. I feel like he's just, that's what I'm saying. Like, he's not oblivious, I think, to how people look at him. And he's trying to change the narrative for himself. But he's not addressing it in the ways that are resolving the actual problems. And I'm getting so analytical about it because I love music. I love rap music, and Joyner's nice, and I want to like him as much as I
got
can.
you. I understand.
He's from Mass.
Exactly. Yeah.
But I get upset and I get frustrated almost with his music, dog, because I'm just like, yo, like he's nice. You know what I mean? Or if you're gonna double down, bro, go Benny the Butcher type Griselda with it, even though Griselda's released at a volume where I'm like, maybe you could reduce it. But they're committing to this niche of, right, they're in that lane of drug talk, blah, blah, blah. Like, do something, I don't know. Like, make a whole project that cohesively strings along all the things you do well, like storytelling. Projects,
Yeah,
you know what
exactly.
I mean? And count on your strengths if that's what you're gonna do for full-length projects. But you do it so well with singles and videos. Like, why are you not following through and just essentially connecting those all along? Because we know you can, and I'm sure he's attempted it in other things. But when you start rapping, like, oh, I'm dealing with being so famous and being so rich, like, you're famous and rich, and who the fuck am I to speak? But you're not the person that is a household name and being recognized on every corner. You know what I mean? Like, you go to Massachusetts, you go to other places, people might look at you. You go to Massachusetts, people definitely know who you are and definitely will be following you. But you go to other places, I doubt, and I bet he knows this too, Joyner Lucas isn't getting recognized. You know what I mean? At every place he goes. You can't, don't rap and be braggadocious when you're not there. You know what I mean? These are just kind of like specific criticisms I have literally while listening to the music.
Interesting. No, I appreciate the perspective too that you're bringing in, and I think there's definitely validity to it. I agree. I don't know if he's there quite yet. I think he's still trying to, like you said, I think he's still trying to find that that way about him. Like, even an example too, like, I didn't really care much for the single Snitch in the video. I didn't think it was his best. I think he's done far better, for sure.
Far better.
But
I think like the whispering was cool. Snitch. Like,
yeah,
I
dope.
remember like, this is just, I'm over this. Like, you know, he's
It's
doing a
not
great
something I'm
job
gonna come back
describing
to.
it because he does what he does.
Yeah, it's not something I'm going to come back to, but there were tracks here that I did think had some energy or had, like, aesthetically or sonically, like, actually I enjoyed quite a bit. Like, Zim Zimma, I think, is a dope track. I think it's got, like, totally a banger. He's got some crazy flows on that one. Straight Like That was very jazzy. I thought I really do think one thing I want to give him a lot of credit for is he really tried to evolve his sound on this project, where he gave us some more melodic, harmonic, soulful, like, hooks, and then definitely some more like soulful, jazzy production. So that for me, that's what I really liked about him, and I do think lyrically, personally for me, this was his most focused that I've heard Joyner Lucas from top to bottom as a project. So at least there, I want to give him that credit, where I think this might be a step in the right direction for where he's trying to go. I just don't think he's quite there yet, but there's still songs on here that I probably will come back to, I'll take away. I think Straight Like That, On This Way, Zim Zimma, and then Legend with Rick Ross I enjoyed quite a bit too, and Evolution. I think those those are the tracks where I really feel like I could see myself going back and listening to those, just based off some of the sonic appeal of some of them. Not necessarily like there's lyricism on Millyz's album that I remember a lot clearer than I do with Joyner's. Even though I understand more so of where Joyner was going with his album, like what he was trying to accomplish, but I don't feel like I could pick apart as many like memorable lines. The most memorable lines I had were the games, like, you know what I mean? And that inherently might be the problem.
That problem with Substance keeps popping up for me.
Yeah.
And I totally appreciated, definitely the instrumentation was on point, which I feel like goes to show that like he's signed to a major, he's trying to take advantage of that.
The lyrics, the production was great. I thought it was
definitely
fantastic.
And I thought it was different. It was Kanye-esque. It was kind of logic-y in that sense, because of all these, you know, cool horns and drums that here and there coming up, like cinematic at times, which is
very cinematic.
Which is dope. I'll say though, it felt like me as a consumer, I feel like I'm aware of him clearly trying to pivot his sound, because these did sound like different beats than I've heard him over before.
Right.
So he's trying to make something. He's trying to make some kind of sound. Find his sound, or find where his lane is sonically. Where I just think he's cold. You know, I just think like it felt all this felt good, but it felt like you're clearly. We're slapping regular Joyner onto this, you know what I mean, and then trying to see if it mixes with a different backdrop.
Yeah.
And like maybe he's being more meticulous about the backdrop, and that's cool. He's trying to find more of the jazzy things. This wasn't like this, or at least most of the tracks. There was definitely one or two in there, but this wasn't like the radio reach necessarily.
No, it definitely
the
wasn't
production.
radio reaching.
But I think like this is where I'm saying like. He's not doubling down on some of the strengths that I think he could be doubling down. I feel like I haven't gotten the Joyner Lucas project that I think he could be making. And when he's making steps like this, it's good that he's making steps. You know, he's taking steps, and that's what I'm saying. He has a long career to go. Yeah. But I don't know if he's in the right direction, and hopefully he can come to the right direction at some point. And this is, again, just my opinion.
Same. Same. This is just our opinions. I'm interested to see in the comments section on either Instagram or on this YouTube channel or wherever you're listening. Curious to hear what you guys, if you guys heard the Joyner Lucas album, what you guys think of it. Would love to hear your thoughts. This Millyz project, however, I will say I liked this a lot better. I liked this a lot better than Joyner's overall. If I was to compare the two, or like which one I like, we'll probably come back to more. I thought that, but however, it's funny because I've never really been somebody that's gone through Millyz' discography like that. I haven't really listened, when he comes out with an album, I don't typically listen to it top to bottom. There's songs that I've liked in the past of his. I've never been a huge fan of him. I think this album to me though has put me on to him in ways that I didn't know of him before. Like he's again, I've almost had the same kind of thing with Millyz that you've had with Joyner. Like heard the name, seen the videos, heard his stuff before, listened to his freestyles, all that stuff. His new freestyle, by the way, with I think it was I-95 something. I can't remember. I gotta look it up.
Bars on I-95.
Yes, that's exactly what one. That's the one. Yes, he killed that shit. Absolutely killed that shit.
I'm gonna have to watch that.
Really. Oh, so good. And Millyz to me, I think, has no pun intended, but I think he's really evolved. As an artist, specifically on this.
So that's so mean. Why would you say that? And that's what's so sad. Oh, that's the irony of Joyner's project, right? Is this I saw what he went for. You evolved, the kid in school thing. You grow up. It's supposed to be a motif for the experience in America. And it's also supposed to have the duality. It's really you too. You're the kid in this.
Yeah.
It was just not.
It didn't land
Artistically. It didn't land, and it wasn't much of an evolution for me. For him as an artist, where I was definitely. I'm new to Milly, so I'm gonna go back and listen to those other Blanco tapes because this one, really, really pretty good.
So I do want to start though with just one maybe criticism of this album. I wouldn't even say it's necessarily a criticism, just something that I think we've lost as a not a society, I should say, but as a the music culture where these 22 track albums. I don't know about you, I think the album experience has totally changed, and since example, a College Dropout, right? That was around 20 tracks, I think 19 if I'm not mistaken. That I can listen to and play through, or I used to be able to. I think maybe because now I'm not used to the stamina of listening to the same artist for 22 tracks. I don't know if that applies anymore, but I'm glad at least that he was able to give out so much content at once that people can kind of either, if they love the full thing and listen to it, that's great.
It was a lot of tracks.
It's a lot of tracks. That's all. That's my only thing. But if you're a fan of Millyz, I don't think you're complaining about that, right? And I do like Millyz.
If you're a diehard fan of Millyz, for sure.
Absolutely. And I think for me, there were some crazy highlights on the back end of this. The second half, I thought that some of the highlights were amazing on the back end of this. But I overall, if looking at it from a perspective, I do like the first half of it a little bit better. I thought the run from just to start, Blanco Trace, I thought that was an amazing song, a great way to start. I liked the vocal sample he used, and that was, I think, something that I really was looking at or listening to pretty closely as I was listening to this album, was the usage of the soulful vocal samples, the harmonies that he was playing with, the melodies. He definitely, for me with Millyz, I think he understands the kind of beats and melodies that are in right now and the ones that he'll get plays from. And I think it's pretty of a genius way to do it, but I think he actually executed it very well. I don't think it was one of those things where it's just I know that this is hot right now, so I'm just gonna bite off this. I think it was genuinely I can go this direction with my music. I can actually sing a little bit too on some hooks and make it harmonic and have these melodies that I don't think he was necessarily playing with as much before. I could be wrong, but that
song. Do you know how old he is? Do you have any idea of how old he is?
I think he's got to be early 30s because he's been in the game for a while. He hasn't been as big.
He seems like he's a bit older. Yeah, he does seem like he's older.
He's a little older, I think. I don't know if he has I'm trying to look it up actually, maybe if I can find it. I don't know exactly how old he is.
Older is also, obviously, I say a little bit older. That's relative to me. But
he's 34, or at least according to this.
34.
Yes.
Right, so he's a grown man.
Yeah, and I think for him, I'm actually happy for him because I feel like this is his best full top to bottom project, and I really am happy for him that he's able to. I kind of felt the same way about Freddie Gibbs, whereas I liked his stuff here and there, But Freddie Gibbs, to me, like when after Pinata hit, like I thought he hit the ground running. It was just ridiculous, right?
Definitely.
But he had been
and that's where I don't want to get too crazy, man, because Freddie Gibbs is a different breed, man.
Different breed.
Freddie Gibbs is nice, and I'm gonna just piggyback off of what you're talking about, the length of the project, right? Like even a college dropout. I know a lot of people, and there's still a lot of stuff to back this up. A lot of people talk about this notion that people's attention span just isn't long enough for these amount of projects, and we haven't trained ourselves to listen to long projects anymore, so the best projects are short. I think though, like, good music is always going to be good music. If you make a good project with 22 songs, like, even if I don't finish it in one sitting, if it's 22 bangers, you best believe, like, if I leave on 10, I'm gonna come back
to
on 11 and start right where I left off, not just like skip around to something else, but come back to 11 and then finish the other half. And with, like, you know, College Dropout, in my opinion, had some of the best skits of all time. Like, so, like, it's probably like more like 17, 18 tracks. It was definitely more of the norm back then to have an 18 track project. So I understand that, and that's where, like, if you're a mid-level artist, if you're an up-and-coming artist who doesn't have this buy-in, this audience that's already, you know, bought into who you are, to want to even listen to the first song, nonetheless, like 12 or 18 of them, that's where I think you need to play your cards right, and adjust to this generation. But no matter where you are, right? Like, I think if you're an amazing artist, if you're a genius artist, or whether you're just an extremely hard worker, very meticulous and very detail oriented, if you make 22 tracks that are bomb, then no one's gonna have any complaints, right? And that's what you're saying. Like, if you're a huge fan of Millyz, you probably will listen to that whole project because you really like Milly's style. You really like his stuff, so you're excited to listen to the whole thing because for you it fills up everything you want, you know. And I bet there are Milly fans like that. I don't know if he's at a place though where I think, you know, I'm someone who's from Mass. I have heard about him for a while on Instagram, had seen a couple music videos and singles here and there, but this is the first project I sat down, you know, and really listened to. And if it wasn't for this podcast, looking at, you know, 22 tracks is daunting, and I'm not gonna lie, a lot of those tracks, right, kind of blend and melt into each other
a bit,
because they're not all of them are super distinct.
I think with him there were two distinct things he went for. I think he went for like super dark, gritty, right?
Definitely.
And then
he got the sound for that.
And then on the flip side of that, though, he did, like, again, the more like angelic, harmonic, like heavenly type of songs with like the vocal samples and the strings and he like filled this album with piano, whether or not it was like dark toned pianos or more lighter toned pianos. But he did such a nice job. I mean, I'm somebody that really likes piano, you know, as kind of the forefront of a beat, so I'm okay with that. Same. But for me, this is actually two interesting things I want to comment. That actually, just looking back as you were talking, this is by far his longest project, not only by track but by runtime, like track length. So he has the first two Blancos. Blanco 2 was 13 tracks, 36 minutes. Blanco, the original Blanco, was 10 tracks, 29 minutes. And then the rest
so all of them were actually really. This was a 30 clip. This was just like Blanco 3 just coming out
22 tracks, full hour of content. So again, like and then some of these tracks were singles. Like, he had already dropped Himalayas a few weeks, I think, before the project, and then before that he had dropped The Muscle, and then earlier in the year he dropped RLS in the past, and then the final track, Stay for a While, was also a single as well. So he did drop he had a lot of promotion for this, and I think he did actually end up getting I think having those songs on the album probably helped these numbers, but he managed to get 2 million streams the first day on Spotify alone for this album.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, so he did some numbers, man. Like, he did some serious numbers. Yeah, I think he did it.
Put some respect on that man's name. Okay.
Yeah, he did some numbers.
Massachusetts. Stand up, Massachusetts.
Yeah. Well, he's really in with like Dave East and the New York scene, like Jada Kiss. Like, those are his boys.
And I'm interested that you brought up New York because I want to say something about that too. But
no, go ahead. Absolutely.
Oh, I was just gonna say, what, man? New York is clearly so influential, and that's what
That's true.
and that's why I don't know if you were finishing up a point because you're
No, it was
talking
good.
about him working with the New York artist, but that's like that was something that I heard off rip is just like, you know, like you were saying, he's rapping on beats that are hip. He clearly he's clearly somewhat aware of like what the sonic landscape is in hip hop right now.
Yes.
But I'll say, like, you know, you're aware enough to know that like New York drill shit is hot right now. You know
Right.
what I mean? Like,
Right.
and like you grab homie Sosa Geek, and I don't know if he's with the Woo. I don't know if he's from Pop Smoke's camp or what, but he damn sure sounded like it. You know what I mean?
know,
There was
yeah.
like Pop Smoke's influence and that New York drill's influence was like so clear.
Atlantis,
on,
Frisbee.
on this one.
Both those
Right.
tracks are pretty dope.
Right, and they were dope tracks. They were pretty
yeah.
hard, and
They went
it was
hard.
cool for me to be like, oh wow, there's someone from Massachusetts making this. But then, you know, to that same point, I'm like, there's someone from Massachusetts. You're supposed to be, you know, repping Boston. Obviously, I look into it a lot. Like clearly, Massachusetts, just New York, kind of influences a lot of East Coast culture
True.
in general.
Yes, for sure.
But it's like there are things that you can tap into here. There are feelings. There is a certain crowd that likes a certain thing around here, and inside that, just for me, it wasn't a knock, but it was like, all right, you're not super ambitious. You're not trying to reinvent the wheel or anything. You know what I mean? You're not a super experimental artist by anything, by any sort of the imagination. Like, and that's where I'm like, I want to see someone, you know, create the Massachusetts style. Like, you know, I want to see someone.
What is Massachusetts? I don't even know if there's we've like developed that yet here. You know what I mean?
Right.
I think it's so much of like different. I think the only group in Massachusetts that's maybe trying to formulate a more quote unquote Massachusetts sound is I think the Van Buren camp, but that's because they kind of all work together and they develop not similar sounds. I think they're all unique in their own way, right? But they certainly play off of each other and things like that. But
here's the thing that I think the Massachusetts style, or no matter what style, it's not determined necessarily actually by what people around here actually listen to, but who does it first and who establishes it. You know what
True.
I mean? Like if someone became huge here for whatever unique style they had, even if it doesn't reflect what everybody
Everyone
in
else is doing,
Massachusetts
yeah.
like, it becomes Massachusetts style. You know
Exactly.
what I mean? Like,
yeah, that's so
bring
true.
something unique to the table, build yourself up in that way, and set the tone for at least what people could somewhat expect from Massachusetts. And that can also obviously help nurture other people, like
Yes.
who are trying to make music around here and give them opportunities to add their own twist.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, who, you know what I mean? Why listen to the guy from Boston sounding like he's just from New York when I can listen to the guy from New York sound like he's
I
from
get
New
that.
York?
I understand what you're
You
saying.
know?
Yeah. But for me, like I was really impressed with this project overall, like just because from a standpoint of just how cohesive it sounded, yet with the contrast, I think the use of his piano styled production I think worked to his favor. I think there were like some deep like emotional cuts on this. Like I thought RLS, Rain, and Dead Homies Callin', just to name a few, like they just had these nice like beautiful hooks and like you know, they were emotional lyricism talking about, you know, so many different things like drug addiction, talking about, you know, mental health, talking about just kind of like, you know, I know as a like he had a really tough upbringing, like especially in school, like he was, you know, he struggled in school and you know, to actually like stay in school and things like that. I know he's been through a lot in his life, and he's very real, he's very honest, and I like his authenticity. I think that you could probably look at him and make a quick judgment, be like, oh, he's gimmicky and blah blah, he's trying to play, but I think that really truly is him, and I think people that
Definitely
are fans of him and have known him long enough in the rap game understand that this is who he is, right? So I think that for me, I really enjoyed that more or less than anything from him, and they were just, again, and then the songs that banged, I mean, they banged. I mean, I loved the two tracks you mentioned with Sosa Geek. I thought Heightened Senses as well was really great with Jim Jones.
Whatever the one with D the Flyest. I don't know.
Yeah, D the Flyest is actually a Boston guy, and that track was dope.
He went off that fat flea one. That was hard. That was hard. Also, man, big respect. And I don't know, Millie. Obviously, let me do some deductive reasoning. Like, he's probably has a lot of connections to New York, and that's why he feels, like he can do the New York style while also being from Boston. Because he rolled out that Jim Jones feature in the first three tracks,
crazy.
And like that was just, even if it's just for the sake of fanfare, like showing your audience that you have Jim Jones. I was impressed, and Jim did some good rapping. Jim's just been rapping his ass off like these past, like, I feel like 4 years. Jim Jones has been trying to, like, it hasn't been trying, but he's been doing this revival kind of like second wave of his career as, like, one of the elder statesmen. But like, that was fire. It was a good
dope
track. And none of what I'm saying before, although it might have sounded critical, was to say that I didn't enjoy this project at all, because I did enjoy this project a good amount, and I'm gonna come back. He definitely has, after listening to this now, has definitely got me. He's on my radar now. Now I'm gonna listen to whatever he drops later, because he's doing some good rapping. You know what I mean? And his delivery is smooth. He was getting melodic for sure. And I think on me listening to this, on the back end of me finishing Joyner Lucas's project, kind of made me maybe even like it more, because there were things that, like, maybe the subject matter wasn't specifically unique, but like there were things that I was taking away from what I was listening to, where he was painting his unique experience.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? He was definitely sounding authentic to what he's seen.
Exactly.
And I was like, okay, so now I'm getting a good feel for the kind of guy you are, and you're saying it. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, it's like, if I'll believe you to say it, so I believed him, and usually that's because people are speaking from an honest place, if you can get it to believe them. But this is where I'm saying, like, if Joyner did some of this, like if Joyner even did some of this, but I understand he doesn't want to be fake. But like, even if you did do some of this in this way, you could probably get me to believe you, because you're also such a good rapper. Where I'm like looking for Joyner to paint some kind of personal narrative that's unique to him. You know what I mean? Like, that's,
I see what you're saying.
Not super surface. Where like, even in this off the rip, with this Blanco project, it was a New York sounding like drill project, but also some grimy, like, dark, I guess trappy, but like almost dark boom bappy, like, lyric cuts. And it was like specific things that were like just painting a unique picture as to who this artist is. Not like just the story they're saying at the time, but like who this artist is.
Yeah, this was a super good representation of him, I think. And I think it painted the picture, like you're saying, of him as a person. He said it with conviction. You felt like it came from a place that was meaningful and passionate. So I love this project. I think for me, having listened to him and listened to some of his albums in the past, I haven't listened to every single one of his projects straight through. The ones I have listened to, however, this is probably my favorite one. They're definitely, again, like I mentioned them a few before, but so many songs I'll come back to on this. Like I've been bumping RLS, Real Life Shit, for quite a while. As it was a single. Dead Homies Calling, I thought was so good, and like that Interstate track was hard as hell. There's
track was hard.
Oh, and the other thing I want to mention real quick before we move on to the last segment of the show, of today's episode, the song Outcasts, actually I thought as well took a sample of Elevator's Me and You from Outkast. And instrumentally, go back and listen to both, like side by side. There's definitely like he used the same type of BPM or some same type of
you're like, probably not reaching on that, right?
I don't think so.
It's called Outkast for probably not reaching.
And I didn't even think that it would happen that way, because I listened to the it's funny, I listened to this one first, and I didn't think of it beforehand, and I was just like, and I heard the beat, and I was like, wait a second, this sounds so much like Me and You, Elevators, and I was just like, oh my God. And then I listened back and I was like, okay, I don't know if it was an intentional thing or not. Like the same thing with Joyner. Right. I don't know if it was an intentional thing, but I heard it. I'm just a big Outkast guy. as you can see. So anytime I hear it, I'm like, whoa. Okay.
Right.
Overall, man, yeah, this was a really, I think, strong project from Millyz, and I mean, clearly people enjoying it because he's getting a ton of rave reviews and streams from this. So I'm a big fan of this project and Millyz.
Big up to him, man. I want to see him work. I want to see him win.
Yeah, me too. Shout out to both these guys repping Massachusetts in the way they do, especially and doing their thing. I think and Millyz does come on a ton of podcasts. Hopefully, he comes on this one someday. But he's gone on a lot of podcasts in Massachusetts and told his story and talks so much about how he still reps Massachusetts and what he wants to bring to the table, what he wants to see potentially come out of the scene and things like that. So he's someone that's well connected, and I think just a good good person. He seems like very authentic. So big shout out to Millyz and Joyner for their projects. And like I said, this is just our opinions, guys, on these albums. So let us know what you think in the comments section. Let us know if you enjoyed these albums and what were your favorite songs.
If I'm off, man, tell me. Man, if I'm off about Joyners, man, someone please point me to where they can help me change my mind. Cause like I said, I'm trying to like him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm with you. I liked the Millyz album definitely better than the Joyner album.
I did.
There's
more.
I
hate to have to pin the people from Massachusetts together, but we're just happy
we're doing
talking about two of them.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Millyz for sure.
Onto a different battle,
dude. Yes, an actual battle. Which again, the Millyz Joyner thing, it wasn't intentional. Just two big artists that dropped on the same day. Wanted to give them their due diligence. Talk about.
Yeah, we didn't mean that. We didn't mean that. We didn't. This wasn't a. That was a musical battle we made up by ourselves and simulated. This is a real battle that people actually said disrespectful things. And
so disrespectful.
To each
oh
other.
my god!
Yeah, this is Mike's
Ruthless.
first time also listening to
Ruthless.
This battle rap stuff. At least I don't know if it's your first time.
Yes.
It seems like you have it. Okay, yeah.
It is.
No, bro, they're talking dirty. So if you don't know, man, in hip hop, there's the other realm of hip hop that is battle rap.
I did not know this. Just before you get into it, I want to say it real quick. You brought me into a world that I had no idea existed. None. No clue. No clue. I was listening to this, and this is actually a pretty funny story. Like, you were like, when we were figuring out what we want to talk about this album, you're like, on this episode, excuse me, you were like, this battle rap's happening this weekend, and I kind of just I was like, okay, that's cool, whatever. And then I realized how big this actually was, and I fell asleep before the actual main event, which was just brutal. But then the replay came out literally yesterday, so I was like, perfect. I watched it. I finished it. I finished the last round today. I watched the 2 rounds last night and then finished the last round today. I was stunned at how ruthless these two dudes were. Murda Mook and Tay-Rock. Holy shit! But this is your world. This is more your thing, not more your world, not mine. But
I'm excited to hear you out. I'm just laying it out for him because I know battle rap honestly isn't something that a lot of people are tapped into. It's like something that hip hop heads are tapped into, and it's not super new. You know what I mean? This is essentially what the culture of hip hop is at its beginning. Is like you would walk up to people from different neighborhoods or in your neighborhood or at the lunchroom. For God's sakes, I remember having rap battles at my lunch table with other people. So it's good to see that this is still going, and it really got its jump in like early 2000s. With DVDs, Smack DVDs that would get circulated around with like big battle raps, big rap battles happening in New York and across the country, but definitely New York was probably the epicenter of all of it. But so the culture is still alive, and it was popular there in the DVD era, and then it kind of had a dip, and then they rebranded, turned it all into URL. They've gone to the internet, and now it's kind of I think it's getting bigger than it probably ever has been before, and it's on the rise. It's back again on the rise. Not as big as we'd like it to be, but it's looking like it's going up, and it's definitely has a lot wider audience now. And I just recently got into battle rap, probably within the last year. Had always known about battle rap and had always seen clips here and there, and always had like uncles and friends and dads of my friends would always watch battle rap and stuff. But I really got into it into the last year, especially as I've been taking my music more seriously, and then I really just coming to it open-minded, because I kind of thought maybe battle raps are just a little boring, just because there's a stench on battle rappers, you know what I mean? Especially when they make music, 'cause they don't. It's not always super successful. But Murda Mook versus Tay Rock is the epitome of this kind of it was also like this for their last event. They had Loaded Lux versus Sue Surf. These are two rappers, Loaded Lux being the veteran and Sue Surf being a veteran in his own right, but like just younger, like 10 years younger, and in the internet era. This right here, Murda Mook versus Tay Rock, is like that but heightened to a different level, because Murda Mook is probably like undisputably like the biggest figure, or at least most popular rapper of his generation. And Tay Rock, I think, is undisputably not the best. I think he's one of. I definitely think he's up there, but that's subjective. But he's definitely, undoubtedly, one of the most popular of this internet era, and has been like at the top of his game for the last couple events. So this was a huge clash, in like culturally, generationally, and stylistically. You know what I mean?
I wanted to comment on that quickly too. It's just like I liked their styles kind of back and forth. I think they rapped very differently. Especially, I thought Mook was a little more creative with his bars than Tay Rock was. But overall, I'm curious though. Did they have like official score? Like, I don't understand quite how it works. Like, did they have an official score of this, or is it? And then my other question was. Oh,
this is awesome. Oh, I'm gonna take this podcast, completely steal it from you, turn it into a battle rap podcast, because I've been watching battle rap podcasts all weekend after this, and the score is something that's up for debate. Like, it's a very hot debate right now about the scoring system.
Well, what would you score? What would you have scored it? Like, in terms of rounds, with 3 rounds, like who won it? Like, and how many rounds did they win?
I had. And I think I still am just trying to be honest with how I feel about it. I have Tay Rock 2-1.
Really?
Thank you. I got Tay Rock 2-1. And I actually just rewatched it. And I'll say this, even while watching it, Mook's bars were a lot better on the second watch. Because after it had all ended and I started looking at, the post interviews or post event things with other rappers are doing, or that people are talking about in comment threads and stuff, I was surprised that there was such a large reaction about people being like, Mook murdered Rock, Mook killed him. Like, people were saying, in battle rap they say 30, you got 30, like, people were saying it's a Mook 30, and then there's tons of people on the other half. And what got reflected in the official results on the Caffeine app that hosts these events, people vote live round by round. That's how it's officially kind of collected. The data itself is collected. And through that, Tay Rock won 3-0. Which,
really?
Yeah. So that's
surprising to me.
Very contentious decision. A very contentious topic, just because there's a lot of nuance to this as to why Tay Rock would win. Obviously, him being younger, more tapped into people who are on the internet, making comments, voting, and advocating on the internet. Tay Rock has that audience built in. He streams something that I don't want to straight rip this off. This is something a battle rap podcaster I heard. Let's Talk Battle Rap. If anybody is interested in getting into battle rap, Let's Talk Battle Rap is a great podcast. One of the hosts goes on to talk about, like, Tay Rock streams 5 hours a day of him, smoking and chatting with fans, and he's developed a culture, an audience already on the app, on the platform. So of course those people are committed to coming back and showing out for Mook, or making sure they get their voting entries in order to support their guy. Where obviously Mook is on the complete other end of the spectrum, where he represents the generation above Tay Rock that didn't grow up with phones, doesn't watch live streams, battle raps used to be pay-per-view, you know what I mean? So you'd have one buddy, you probably bust it down with 6 of your buddies or something, you know what I mean? Like, and you're not worried about getting your responses in. Someone puts it on TV and you argue about it in your house, and that's how you decide the score, which is another cool way to go about it. But obviously, for engagement, for definitive answer, they made a voting system. And in that voting system, I'm pretty sure it's had Tay Rock 3-0. Maybe it was Tay Rock 2-1. Either way, I know it for sure had Tay Rock winning, and I want to say by a large margin.
That is so interesting because actually this is interesting because I'm coming from a very unbiased section of this because I don't know. The one thing I will say, I got very lost sometimes with the bars because I didn't know, like, I don't know who they're talking about. I don't know their history at all.
Who they're referencing, right?
So
yeah,
a lot of the
it's
references,
difficult.
yeah, I missed some of the references and like I don't know enough. I'm a little ignorant to the actual culture and like them as just as artists or people. So some of the things they were talking about, I wasn't as tapped into. But coming from an unbiased music reviewer, like, you know, perspective that I am, I actually thought Mook beat him 2-1. That's what I had, and I was looking at the rounds as I was listening. I had Mook, I had Rock winning round 1, and I had Mook.
Really?
I did. I had Rock.
Really?
I had Rock round 1. And I had Mook the last 2. Personally, maybe I gotta go back and look. Yeah,
really?
I did.
Yeah, I'll say, dude. I love battle rap. I love hip hop. You can tell. And I watch some of these things, you know, over and over again. I at least watch it twice if I can, if it's on the app, because there are bars that go over your head, right? And there are references that you can even learn what they mean afterwards, and then you come back and listen to that thing and you're like, oh wait, if I knew that coming into it. And that's another thing that people argue about with the voting, is that you're voting it round by round, when sometimes a third round might, you know, kind of fix some of the loose ends that the first round left, you know what I mean? Or the second round might tie in and be a great be the perfect setup for the third round, and that could ultimately mean that maybe that second round was better. You know what I mean? It's so it's difficult. It's I don't know how you're gonna vote it to make it fair, but I had Rock. The first round for me is what was up for grabs. That to me is where I thought it could be both ways. I thought Mook had a strong first round, definitely. I also thought Tay-Rock had a strong first round. Although it did seem like he was pacing himself, none of that first round for me did Murda Mook say something that like had me go like, oh my goodness, like, you know. And that's part of Tay-Rock's style. Tay-Rock had a couple has these punchlines that are ferocious punches. You feel me? Like, where it's just like you get it when he says it, and it's clever. Like it's easy to, it's digestible in the moment, and there's the wit behind it where you're like, that was creative. So there are these tangible, almost one-liners you can take away instantly. Right. Which, especially on the first listen, it wasn't resonating with me from Mook. The second round, so when I'm watching it live, that's where I'm still leaning kind of Tay-Rock, but I do have this Tay-Rock bias because I love Rock. He's one of my favorite battle rappers now. The second round, I thought Tay-Rock absolutely turned up. I thought Tay-Rock's bars, his conviction, his style, he was performing high level Tay-Rock, kind of what I think he was holding on to in that first round, which is why I'm like, he was pacing himself, because he's an energy kind of rapper too. That energy and that performance is a big part of it, although I still think people sometimes try and minimize or reduce how much lyricism is in his performance. But that second round, I thought he was doing top tier Tay-Rock stuff, and then that third round, I thought Mook absolutely went nuts. I thought Mook went crazy. Like, it was punchlines, it was metaphors, and like the schemes that he was saying. You know, again, I'm grabbing some of this from other battle rap commentary I've seen, but you especially go back on the second listen. Something that I think Mook maybe could even teach Tay-Rock is that like the schemes that he was pulling out. When we say schemes, talking about rhyme schemes and just metaphors that. And like lines of wordplay that all blend together or are related to each other. He can use one scheme. Let's say it was an animal scheme. He'd rap for 5 or 6 lines. Like, you know what I mean? 5 or 6, 7 lines that all had the same kind of wordplay woven throughout, but was still describing something and moving on to different points, you know what I mean? Or I'm like, that kind of focus and that kind of lyricism, that's where I was like, oh, Tay-Rock definitely didn't do enough, definitely, you know, fell short of this, because some of the energy and some of the, you know, the threats and the gun bars and stuff, the gun bars are classic, the gun bars I think are necessary, but always resonate in that same way. They don't always make a point in the same way that, Mook was.
Yeah, with Tay-Rock, too, I thought he stumbled a bit on that third round for sure. I didn't think that there was as much conviction from him. I definitely had Mook winning the last 2 rounds, I thought. I think what got Mook, it seemed like what got Mook going more and why I went with him the last 2 rounds was when Rock had mentioned something about his mom, and then I think he popped off after that. I think that was what it was that really got it. He had some interesting lines, I thought too. I will say this about Mook, he did reuse a couple lines. He said in the first round he had said something along the lines of you got candy bars, I don't give a fuck if it's Halloween, and then he used it. Then he used it again in the third.
That's funny. That's funny you say that. That's a thing about battle rap. That was his outro bars. You know what I mean? And if you pay attention and watch a couple battle rap, Tay-Rock also had the same kind of thing. Tay-Rock has had a couple outro bars. Sometimes so battle rappers will do that, and you know what I mean. And the whole thing is the last 6 bars of your round are the same thing, but they're supposed to hit harder every time. You know what I mean?
So that
was intentional, I think, and that's just also kind of one of the normal things. I'll just say, just want to make that point. One of the normal things stylistically in battle rap.
Interesting. I actually had a question too. I wanted to ask you because I was curious. Do they just freestyle this, or is some of this pre-written? What is typical for that?
Yeah, it's God, that would be so crazy if they freestyle.
I was about to say, because that'd be so impressive. So impressive if
aliens. These would be literal aliens. But no, so definitely everybody's coming to the table, and you're expected to come to the table with 3 written rounds, right?
Okay.
But just like hip hop, freestyling is essential to hip hop, and just like if you were rap battling someone in real life, you know what I mean? If you want to freestyle, by all means, you can freestyle whatever you want. You have whatever creative license you want. You can, you know what I mean? And that comes down to your skill. So there are some battle rappers who you could say their biggest strengths are rebuttaling live, freestyling off the cuff, and it works for some rappers. You do that, and some people say that Tay-Rock actually tried to do that in the 3rd round and ended up stumbling because of some of this stuff. You could tell maybe he was getting shaken up by some of the stuff Mook was actually saying, and there were definitely some rebuttals in there, and you can even assume that some of these people maybe prep rebuttals just in case certain things get thrown out there, but they don't necessarily want to address it if it's not going to be spoken about.
Right.
But there are other rappers who, and there are oftentimes rappers who freestyle in order to rebuttal something that's being said right there that maybe they didn't necessarily write and address in their rounds, because that's part of the meticulous chess game that it is with the war of words, is that you prepare for what you're gonna say and you prepare to defend yourself against what they could possibly say. But some rappers are nice enough. Charlie Clips is one of my favorite rappers. He's probably the GOAT at this. Freestyling, hearing something you said in that second, freestyling 4 bars that diss you or discredit something you said, or just comment on I've seen Charlie Clips comment and freestyle in the middle of his round when someone drops something, you know what I mean? Someone drops something off stage and he comments on, and you might drop that water bottle did, you know what I mean?
Wow.
So clearly freestyling, and it's just whether or not you're good enough to do that. And sometimes that's even bit Charlie Clips in the ass, you know what I mean? He freestyles, you can tell he goes on that tangent. Maybe he even does it for a couple bars because he's nice, a couple lines, but then he comes back to try and he's like, all right, back to my round, and then he maybe stumbles a little, chokes, and you gotta see them prep. So it's a double-bladed or double-edged sword, and it's a risk you're running.
Exactly. I was that's why I wanted to ask the question, because I wasn't sure exactly how that worked, because there were some rebuttals in with both of them. So that was why I was more or less but either way, I think even pre-writing them and then being able to actually perform them in the way that they do, as long as they're doing it for some of these they're 5-ish 6 minutes long, some of these, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
and
man.
I think
Yeah,
that in itself is impressive. I'm more impressed with, I would have been more impressed if they freestyled it, but I'm still impressed even so if they're memorizing it. The only when I was watching it the first night, I saw
Can I say to that point, someone who's prolific, because they kind of agree on the rules beforehand about the length of the rounds. Sometimes they go unlimited, sometimes they go 5-minute rounds, and lots of times the battle rappers will talk about that. One of the most prolific people is Loaded Lux. He's one of like the vets, the gods of this thing.
Okay.
Someone, if you want to take some time, if anybody out here wants to take some time and just witness the amount of material this man has memorized and like with the animation he's going off of it, he loves the unlimited round settings, and he'll go for 10 minutes a round. He'll prepare. He could probably go 15 minutes a round. You know what I mean? I'm talking about 45 minutes of wordplay. Like,
it's wild, dude. It's wild. And for me, like, again, not being familiar with this culture, with this scene, the only rapper that I know well by name is Daylight, and just because I've heard actually his music before. I had heard some of his stuff, because I think he one of his projects, I can't remember the name of it now off the top of my head, but he posted like the actual cover was him and Drake going back and forth on like a tweet or something like that. So that was super cool. And and
he also posted he also if you don't know if you know this, when Kanye was gonna make Jesus is King, and the title of it was still kind of going around, and then when it came out as Jesus is King, Daylight dropped something like an album at first that was named Jesus is King, and it was like the same cover. It was like the big he's a troll, you know what I mean? He does that. He messes with the internet in that way because he has an eccentric personality. Like, he's willing to go that far. I remember looking, like, it looked like a Kanye West project had released. It was the Jesus is King cover. I want to say it was Jesus is King title, or it was like whatever at the time was like being theorized to be the title of the project. And when all those kind of fake pump fakes that Kanye does when it was being released, he even went that far to like just rip the cover, rip the title. He's a crazy dude.
That's crazy. Yeah, no, and like I said, I knew him from a little bit from hearing his music, but no, I find it interesting that, you know, these battle rappers aren't really like bigger artists, and I think that there's a lot. I think there's definitely a distinct difference between being able to find catchy and melodic, you know, music and hooks and things like that versus the battle rap. I think it's not obviously it's rapping. It's still hip hop, but it's definitely a different animal than it is. And I could feel that. It was the feeling of it was very palpable for me, like listening to it. And I think it's one of those things where I don't think you're going into it to like enjoy the music of it, or like you're more going into like listening to like you're saying, the lyricism, the metaphors, the bars, right? Like and then of course like the battle back and forth of like just how ruthless both these dudes were. I was stunned some of the stuff they were talking about.
Yeah, no, the disrespect that teaches you first and foremost, that teaches you like, oh, this is not abiding by any, like, it's almost like stand-up comedy, you know what I mean? Like,
I did have that
like,
feel.
It's that realm where they're allowed to say whatever they want, and you're definitely not going there for the music, the flows. That is a plus. You're going there for who can say the most disrespectful thing
in the smartest way.
In the most clever way. The flow, there's no beat, you know what I mean?
Right, exactly. It's all a cappella.
It's public speaking, really.
Yeah.
While rhyming.
It's wild. It's an interesting topic. We'll definitely have to review when another battle comes out. I would love to like review it again and talk about it, because I'm definitely now fascinated and enamored with this culture, and it's very interesting. Thank you for putting me onto it, because it definitely helped me to broaden my horizons of what, you know, hip hop and music is and things like that.
More people need to do this, and I think it's important, just like for me as a hip hop fanatic, like it's important for this kind of stuff to stay alive, because it also reminds us like that, you know, hip hop is poetry, hip hop is intellectual, you know, theater. You know what I mean? This is essentially what that is too. So I'm glad to put you on. Damn, you said Murda Mook 2-1.
I got Murda Mook 2-1. I'll
Murda Mook 2-1 in the second round too. The second round I feel like is the most arguable for Tay-Rock.
Interesting. I'll listen back again, and then maybe if see if my opinion changes, but maybe off the second listen. But first initial listen, I had Murda Mook 2-1. So, but yeah,
my girlfriend said the same thing. My girlfriend actually said 3-0 Murda Mook.
Okay.
She just
there you go.
And
so
my girlfriend has gotten some secondhand experience and knowledge from like me forcing her to watch rap battles. So with me,
I was gonna say, right?
She watched this one with me, and she said Murda Mook 3-0. But she agreed with me. If there's anything that you can argue for Tay-Rock, it was that second round, because that's where I think, at least energetically, he seemed the most locked in, with the most conviction, and that's what he does best. So that's interesting. That's interesting.
The beautiful thing of hip hop, but we're definitely disagreed on some things today, but that's again, it's the beautiful nature of hip hop and art really as a whole. But
Definitely,
yeah. Well, dude, this has been such a good episode. I think a great relaunch to our official, Turntable Teachers episodes that were really born this podcast from. So again, thank you so much. We got definitely more coming for you guys. So make sure you stay tuned. We are going to be going on just to announcement. We're going to every other week. You're going to check in with Phoenix and I. We're going to have every other week. We're going to have episodes where we do just like we did today, talking about topics in the music world and music industry, and talking about actual, reviewing music and artists.
I'm sticking around, buddy.
I'm
sticking around.
Here.
I'm coming back. We're talking about more music. We're diving into more battles. We're looking at more bars, and we're doing our best to like Joyner Lucas over here. All right, Massachusetts, stand up, and Joyner, come back with something strong, man. And somebody put me on, man. There's someone out there listening who is like, yo, Phoenix, you got this messed up. Someone put me on, man.
Joyner Lucas is about to rap battle you and put you in a body bag, dog. I would
yeah, he's about to destroy me. He's about to destroy me.
Oh, too great. I love it. No, this has been fun. I'm glad we're doing this. And yeah, like I said, so every other week we'll get these episodes out, and then on the off weeks from that will be the regular guest speaker episodes, and you can always, like I said, tune in every Wednesday for Right Mind. So we got one more I would say spin-off series or spin-off to the podcast. Like, so there's going to be 4 different mediums. We have another co-host we're going to have for the other side of it. I'm going to just quickly I'm not going to quite talk about that quite yet. I will wait till we're prepared to announce that, but that is in the works with another guest host, co-host for the other spin-off series we have coming, and I'm excited to launch that one as well.
Turntable Teachers is blowing up, man. Turntable Teachers is blowing up. Mike is back here pulling the strings.
Trying to pull some strings,
Mike
dog.
is back here pulling the strings.
2021. We got is going to be the big launch for all of this and to get on that schedule that we have. So I'm super excited, and again, Phoenix, I'm just happy to have you part of the team, and yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun, man. So thank you guys for tuning in to us. Make sure you follow us at Turntable Teachers on Instagram. Subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts, YouTube, all that good stuff. And yeah, until next time, I'm Mike, and this is Phoenix with the Turntable Teachers, and class is dismissed.
Turntable.